What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's another beautiful day here in North Carolina, and we've got another service call to go to. In today's video, what we're going to be doing is installing a variable speed blower motor for a high efficiency heat pump system. We went out earlier in the week. We found this blower motor bad. We had to order it, so we're going back now to put that motor in. This motor was basically when it tried to call for air conditioning. The blower motor would sit there and jump back and forth the blower wheel. That lets us know that the motor was bad, so all we can do is replace it. So we're going to go ahead and replace this unit. And so if you guys want to see how I replace this variable speed motor, tag along with me, and you know I'm glad to show it to you. So let's get to the customer's house. Alright, we're at the package unit now, and your blower motor is down inside this compartment. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to remove this top. That'll get us access to the blower motor, and we're going to get started. I'll remove this top and I'll bring you back. Alright guys, I got the top and everything off. I removed power to the equipment. This right here gives us access to our blower motor. Now once we got the top off, we got to take out the screws that are holding this motor in. You've got one screw here. You got one screw, I don't know if you can see it, it's down at the bottom. And this side just slides into a little groove here. Now what we want to do is, you've got your wires on your variable speed motor. What you want to do is, you've got numbers on your variable speed motor that the wires go to. The best thing that I would tell you to do is take those wires one at a time. What goes to 1, label 1, what goes to 2, label 2, and so forth and so forth. Label those wires so when we have the new motor back, that we can wire everything up the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking these screws out. So we've got one screw here, we got one screw at the bottom. Alright, now our motor is loose. Now I want to go ahead and start taking these wires off. I forgot the ground wire. Alright, we got the motor out. And so, basically the first thing we always want to do is we want to take a piece of sandpaper and clean off this shaft. Alright, that'll make it much easier to pull that motor out. Alright, next we want to unloosen our set screw. Alright, we got our set screw out. So now what we're going to do is flip it over, and we want to remove our 3 brackets. Next we want to lift the motor straight up. See if we can pull it out. Let's see if we can get lucky and pull this motor out. What do you know? We didn't have to get a wheel puller. So we got this motor out. The next thing that we want to do is, we have a bracket that holds this motor on. So we want to loosen that up so this motor can slide out of this bracket. Okay, now that we got it loose, what we want to do is lift up on this bracket, pull it straight off the motor. So all our brackets fell out. The old motor is loose. And now what we want to do is, we want to install our new one. Now this motor, as you can see, looks a lot different than the motor that we had. I think they did some redesigning to these motors because they had so many problems. But if you look here on this plug, you've got the exact same connections as your old one did. It's just not in the motor. So there's really nothing that wires different. Our wiring, our cheat sheet that we had will serve us good on this. All we have to do is wire it up the same way the other one was. So let's get this band back on this motor and get it put back in the housing. Alright, we got all 3 of our brackets in. Now all we need to do is tighten this band back up to secure it to the motor. Alright, we got our band secure on our motor. Everything's tight. So all we want to do from this point forward is we want to do reverse of what we did before. Take the shaft of our motor and stick it right there in that hole and slide everything down. Alright, we got the motor down, and now all we need to do is take our screws, pop it back in, and we're going to tighten these 3 screws down. Alright, we got those 3 bolts tight. So what I did is I flipped the motor over, and now we want to get our set screw in. But before we do that, what we want to do is we want to line our blower wheel up. You see there's a gap over here and not much of a gap there. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that that gap is about even. And that's probably good. And that's so you don't have any improper airflow. You'll make sure your blower wheel is even on your shaft, that is not losing any air one way or the other. Because I have run the service calls, especially on a gas furnace, that if you have the motor one way or not the other, I've actually seen it trip a limit switch on a gas furnace. So that's always taught me to line your blower wheel up to make sure you have even airflow. So once we do that, we're going to tighten down our set screw. And one thing with the set screw, make sure your motor always has a little flat part on the shaft. If you can see it there, your set screw always wants to be aligned on the flat part of the motor shaft. That way it can tighten properly and not come loose. So I'm going to have to adjust that. Once you do get the screw over the flat part, go ahead and tighten it down, and you should be all set. Alright, before we take this, put this new motor back in, I wanted to show you, this is the old motor. And I told you that you can't really see it very well on here, but you have indicators to tell you where the wires go. So you've got a C, an L, a G, and N. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you made your little cheat sheet like I showed you, you can go back and wire the correct color for whatever spade you have. Also, if you ever don't have a cheat sheet, you can't figure it out, on your wiring diagram, here's your blower motor, and you got your C, L, G, N, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's got, and you can see here, it's got actually the color of the wire which goes to each terminal. So your wiring on these variable speed motors is pretty self-explanatory. You've got ways, always make your cheat sheet, or you have your wiring diagram. If you don't have your wiring diagram, you always have your cheat sheet. Always do the cheat sheet because it's the easiest way to do it, because sometimes you don't have a wiring diagram. So basically I'm going to show you how to put this motor in. I'm going to go ahead and wire it up, and you should have your sheet as well to show you which wires go where. You won't mess it up. Alright, everything lined up pretty good. There's your screw holes. So we want to go ahead and put our screws in here and here. We're almost done. Alright, you may see that our wiring is a little bit different place than the other. That makes no difference because we have enough wire to actually reach our terminals. Alright, I got everything wired back thanks to my little cheat sheet I had. Everything's in here secure. So all we got to do is pop this top back on. Let's start her up and see if we have air conditioning. Alright, we got our top back on. I went ahead and put our screws in around to secure the top. What we're going to do is we're going to put our power back on. Now nothing happened. Remember, we have a digital thermostat on this unit. Anytime that we remove power, our thermostat has basically a 5-minute delay. So don't be alarmed when the unit doesn't come back on. It's just the thermostat's in a delay. So as soon as the thermostat times out, I'll bring it back and let's see if our motor works. Alright guys, we got our motor and everything in. Everything's working good. So the customer should have AC now. So the motor wasn't that hard. Just kind of time consuming and everything. But if you can do that one motor, you can do any of them, because different types of variable speed motors. So I just want to show you that one, and you can do the others. So that's it for today's call. Another happy customer. They're glad they have their AC working. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for spending time on my service call. And if you've learned something, please like and subscribe to my channel. It means more to me than you know. And I will see you on the next service call. Thanks, guys.